Hello Scorpio, welcome back to my channel. I am Mariana and I will do the vibes inside for you today. Yeah, it's I don't know if it's because I have these empathic abilities, but it's so interesting with you Scorpio, because you operate in the emotional realm. And empathic skills, they operate in the emotional realm as well. So I may have picked it up, and I've come to your, you would say, now it's your time. After Libra, I do your reading, right? And it's Scorpios. Well, you are a water sign. You are a masculine water sign, which is quite different from a feminine water sign. Well, they can have intertwining energies, but it's what you are driven by that is perhaps a big difference. Okay, I'm going to say something, and you may not like this, Scorpio, but I'm going to say it anyway. If we take the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, that's the linear understanding of the zodiacs, that the fourth house, the home, is Cancerian energy. Cancerian energy is in its best octave. In its best octave, it is the beautiful, caring home, the mother, you could say. But sometimes mother is not happy, right? Sometimes, in a more unhealthy state, mother is not happy. And then Cancerians will have a different way of being. For Scorpios, I believe you say the higher octave of Scorpio energy is vulnerable, raw, openness and connection. Very much related to, you could say, sexual connection. I would say in a higher octave we may have something like tantra or something, tantra connections. Just closing the window. In a not so higher octave of Scorpionic energy, we have power struggle, power dynamics. And this can be like on an emotional level, power dynamics on an emotional level. We are talking about water here anyway. And when we talk about Scorpio, we are talking about like a really I want to say tough water. Tough water. This is it can be very dark water here. It can go very, very dark, like into revenge and um, yeah, I want to say possession, devouring. I've used some of these words before. It can go that far. It can go to this, I have my right to devour you, right? I have my right to own you, like a possessive way of thinking. That's why I think the Scorpio is depicted usually as a scorpion with the toxic tail, because there is a lot of emotions here, extremely passionate emotions. But I think that they can be difficult to handle. Like, I think it's almost like it takes more than one human body to hold the energy sometimes. I think that to hold the energy, if you are very passionate about something and nobody wants to listen, or they are not interested, this is where it can turn into something else. The Piscean energy, we say that it's the eldest water sign. So it has done all of it. It has tried everything. It knows that waters can be clear and blue and bright and calm and nice. But they also know the other one. They know your energy as well, Scorpio. They know the most raw love you can ever have. The most vulnerable spot. The spot that we don't want anyone to see, right? Piscean knows that, right? They know it. And because the fish has no shield, they are out. Like, if they feel that something remotely just resembles dark water, they're out. They're gone. Because they have no shield. They have no toxic tail. They don't have that. So they are out. They leave. Even before the party starts, they leave. Piscean is supposed to be the most intuitive, most psychic sign. They are led by their intuition, by their guidance. And if they pick up just slightly something about power struggles, they're out, right? Because they know, it's like they've been there. Like, once they were a Scorpio. They know what that means. Like, they know what kind of thing you can become occupied with in that realm. And one thing that is very prominent with Scorpion energy for me is power. Emotional power. We have other kinds of power, right? We know we have fire power. That would be anger and rage and stuff like that. Using it to burn other people, if we go in that direction. Fire can also be an amazing inspiration. It's the will power and go-getter energy, right? We have pentacle power, so money power, earthly money power. But there are ways of having power that is unseen. It just is. Between the lines, right? And that's your area. That is your area. The unseen. It's unseen, it can't be touched, but it's there. You know, like within these, you could say, power and power dynamics, we have something like, let's say, loyalty. Loyalty is, well, it's a word, but what does that mean? Loyalty is it requires that people act in a certain way. They honor something. They're loyal to something. They honor it. Maybe by all means they honor it. So the one who is loyal to must act in a certain way, and the one who is owed loyalty, you could say, or is worthy of loyalty, is the receiver of something. So here we have a dynamic where there is no necessarily written contract. Maybe it has not even been spoken out loud. Maybe it's just a thing that is. You know, like in family structures, we have a lot of this going on. This I don't know if it's because my Jupiter in Scorpio, because I tap very much into stuff like this. I can smell it, like I can feel it in the air. It's like moisture in the air. I can feel it, right? I can feel if there's something if there are some kind of power dynamics that are keeping people in certain interactions. Why are people loyal to someone else? Where does that come from? Maybe the person helped them out once. Maybe you're loyal because you don't know why you're loyal. You're loyal because it's your father or your mother. And that's just how it is. So it's a inbuilt, expected something that we don't even know the root of. And that's me, right? What is the root of this, right? What is the root of our power dynamics? In what situations do I feel I have power? In what situations am I powerless? You would say that because I'm loyal to something doesn't mean I'm powerless. No. Maybe not in other areas. But if you are loyal to something, you have devoted yourself to it. Something keeps you there. It keeps you there. It keeps you being loyal to it. And maybe it's a good thing. As I said, maybe it's a trustworthy, very good relationship. But it could also be a loyalty that is created when things were bad. Because you were in a bad place and someone helped you out. You now feel that you owe loyalty because of that good deed. You are now you need to be loyal to this, or whatever. I don't know, but you see my point, that there are. So what has caused? What are the root, or what were the circumstances originally? When you devoted yourself to something, or when you became loyal to something. how were they based? Like originally, what was the dynamic? And for a child and family, it goes without saying, right? A child cannot stand alone. They need family, and somehow this is inbuilt in the child. They know that. They know it. And of course, it can be more or less encouraged, right? If you punish your child on a regular basis, from they are very, very small, they can turn into either rebels or submissive children. You can coerce a behavior into a child when they are very young. That is a power thing again. It's like designing your child, right? We expect the child to behave in a certain way because we have designed it or shaped it. Because the child is not seen as an individual being, they are seen as an extension of me. So it's like my property, I own them. If so, I can shape them as I want. They are obliged to follow my ruling. I have power over them. Well, this is, like it's a characteristic of something, right? It's not necessarily how it is in all families, but if that is actually the root, this is now what the children are experiencing. And I've talked about this in some of the other readings. There's a sender and there's a receiver of a message. If you send out a message, I own you, you are my property, you have to do what I want you to do. Like whether it's said or not, or whether it's implied, whether it's an energetic thing, there is a receiver, or maybe there's not. If you have a child that doesn't want to be owned, that doesn't accept this, they will rebel against it. They will try to rebel against it. If you have a child that doesn't feel strong enough to rebel against it, they may become the receiver of this. Meaning that this is the child now that you can shape. You can shape them into anything. Were you that child? Are you shaping a child like this, or a sister, or that it's like and even in an adult life, this can be how we like people operate, right? They send something out, and if someone becomes the receiver of it, they accept it. They take that message and they mirror. Yeah, I think that too. Or, oh, you think that? Yeah, I find that great too. Now they have found someone who will hear the message. You send something out and someone hears the message. They keep hearing it. They keep accepting it. So now there is a connection, right? There's a connection now between these two. If someone keeps bouncing it off, bouncing it right back in your face like that and saying, no, I don't want it, I don't agree, you now have a component or an opposition. You have someone to rebel against or fight against or something. So there's acceptance and receiving, and there is non-acceptance and, you would say, rebellion. In the dualistic understanding, you have these dynamics going on, and in the emotional realm or psychic realm or intuitive realm, this goes on more or less unexplained. It's there. We all know it's there. We can feel it, right? Know it. We know that it has been part of our own upbringing. We know that there are, at least in my own opinion, I believe that love is about a certain element of connection, heart connection. Sex is not about that. Sex is about power struggle. It's a reinforcement of who has power in this dynamic. It's not said. Like it's not necessarily implied. It's not, and sex can be very beautiful, especially if there is very little, I believe, power struggle actually. But I also think that if there is a very uneven, so one has a lot of emotional power and one has not, this is where we have a different sex. Like the sex dynamics can be more harsh and more dominant and more, it's just a theory. This is what I think, right? So the more control, the more dominance, the more king-like, you could say, or emperor-like status someone feels they have emotionally in a dynamic, the more ruthless they can be. Because the one who stands in front of them are not reacting, right? They have no power to fight back. The more ruthless they can be, if they are powered by power, or if they are fueled by power. So again, I'm sitting here doing your reading, Scorpio, and I can just feel this I get it. It feels like an invasive energy, right? It really wants to take up my space. Like it wants to take up and control. And this is a negative aspect of Scorpio, and it's not all you are at all. But if you can get it your way, like if things don't go your way, and here we have the willpower that that if your willpower is not met, like your wish is not met, your desire is not met, and you are highly linked to the sexual realm, Scorpio. If your desires are not met, and the fire energy in you is festering, then I want to say here hell breaks loose. It can, right? It's like it can create such disruption in you, and it can break your heart actually, and it I have a nephew, and he is a 4-planet Scorpio. And if he gets very excited about something that he really wants other people to understand, and he explains and talks and everything, and you are not leveling with him, like he says something here, but you're not necessarily accepting it, right? You don't open to it. Like he becomes so extremely frustrated, and to the point that he becomes so angry and furious and frustrated and sad at the same time. Like I can see the tears in his eyes, right? And at the same time he is he is attacking me, right? He's mocking me. He's like so I feel like the Scorpio energy, I actually know it, right? I feel it sometimes in myself. I feel it approaching from the outside. If I feel a person like that, I can feel this immense, as I said, it's like moisture in the air. And to me, it's like moisture in the air, right? I can feel it. And when I sit and if I have a discussion with this nephew of mine, I can just, and he can go from being very open and very enthusiastic about something and very happy about something, and he talks and talks and talks, are very into something. And if you start asking him questions about it, if you start asking him just to elaborate on something a little bit more, or you are questioning some of the things he's saying, I can feel the shift in him. I can feel how he shifts into this defensive, aggressive mode. And when a Scorpio shifts to this mode, this is where things become, you could say hell could break loose here, at least inside the Scorpio, right? Inside the Scorpio, hell breaks loose here. And the Scorpio can take out all his defenses. And these defenses are, again, playing on everything you have. So if it's loyalty, if it's giving someone bad conscience, if it's mocking them, if it's putting them down, like if it's making them second guess, if it's lying, if it's manipulating them, if it's they use any tactic possible here to emotionally change a situation. Whatever tactic they may have. So again, as I say, they play on loyalty, they play on mocking, they play on finding whatever weak spot this other person may have. Right? They are trying to find it. They will push out a lot of stuff here to figure out where is this weak spot, because there's always one. So when I find it, when I find the spot where you become the receiver, I just keep on going with that one. I keep going with that one. That's how I see the Scorpio, right? It's like it's like, when they start defending themselves, or when they feel like they are cornered somehow, this is where they send out the venom. And until the venom actually starts really working, when it starts working and you see that your opponent gets weaker or withdraws or something, this is when the Scorpio then attacks even more and more and more, and it becomes lethal, you would say. This is where hell, as I said, hell breaks loose. It can become really, really emotionally devouring. I want to say it's like attacking to the throat to kill, right? That's, again, because I need the power. I need that power. I need that power not to be the one who gets devoured. I'd better devour you first, right? So it's a defense mechanism, but also an aggressive way of leveling something out, right? again, I've said this many times before, that I believe every person, no matter what kind of zodiac sign they are, no matter what kind of gender, no matter what kind of social status they come from or how they live their life, we are all fueled by a very self-absorbed self, you would say. A self-absorbed core of survival. That bit of us, or that core of us, has to stay intact. By all means, it has to stay intact. And therefore, I can only have threats to a certain point. To a certain point, I will defend this part of me. To my death, I will defend it. Like, this is core, vital. So if I don't defend this to the core, I will lose it, right? I will lose it, and then I lose me. That would be a total surrender. That's what I think happens for narcissists. That the attack that they are, face, even though they fight for their life, they get defeated. And therefore, the self disappears into the void, you would say. It disappears into a big dark void where it cannot come out again. And it gets absorbed by something else. So I mainly talk about psychological stuff on my channel. That's me, I guess, somehow. And these psychological things could not even occur if we don't have what I call the moisture in the air. Like, if our brain and our body was not even able to pick up on this, we wouldn't know anything about it. We would simply live just beside each other, and we couldn't feel anything from each other. But we do feel something, right? There is an energetic field. We can feel drawn to certain people. There is something going on there. And it's very, very powerful. If you know what that is, it's very powerful. It can keep people in the most toxic situations. Like, if you take, I know I'm going a bit deep or dark here with something, but, well, you're Scorpio, so you probably don't mind. Let's take a dynamic of a pimp and one of the girls on the street. That's a really tough situation, at least for the girl. But she may be an addict, right? Or she simply has found herself selling her body in the streets. And for her to do that and be safe, she needs some kind of protection. This is a vicious cycle that never ends, right? As long as she goes to the street, as long as she goes there, maybe due to her addiction, she needs the money. She can't get it anywhere else. It's not legal, whatever. As long as she goes to the street and she puts herself out there, and she has figured out that she needs protection, which the pimp can offer to a certain point. As long as she goes there, this dynamic continues. She may owe money. There could be any other kinds of ties that keep her there somehow. Her addiction, maybe she has had money problems at a point and this pimp helped her out. But at the same time, she is now part of his team here, you would say. This is a cycle that keeps going. As long as he keeps up his part of the deal and she keeps up her part of the deal, this can function. But it may not be. Again, there's definitely a power struggle here. There's definitely a power thing going on. And there is a situation where someone is, you could say, the weaker one, the addictive girl, who is a prostitute. She is in this cycle where the addiction keeps her in a loop somehow. Further, she is now also tied into a situation with a pimp. And whatever power there may be here. So she is in the weakest position, and this one is the pimp may be in a more powerful position. And somehow they found each other, right? Somehow this made sense. But what was the root of this connection in the first place? Well, it's maybe the addiction. It's the fear of being hurt. It's the fear of something. It's the fear of withdrawal from the drug or something. I don't know what the root was, the root of something. What is the root cause of the addiction in the first place, right? Why did you go there in the first place? Again, when you meet someone and you become romantically or sexually involved, what was the event? How did you feel as a person at that time? Did you feel okay in your life? Were you in a good place? Did you feel that you were happy? Did you feel that you had, that your life was going okay? You had somewhat the feeling of safety and security and money and a job or something going on when you meet this person? Or were you in a very tumultuous place? Were you in a very threatened place? When you meet someone and they may offer some kind of relief or an escape or a feeling of being found and rescued, something like that. If someone comes and finds you and rescues you out of loyalty and out of respect and out of so-called love, we stay. Even though the circumstances change or the person changes behavior, perhaps. We stay anyway because of loyalty, right? I stay because if he hadn't found me at that point, if he didn't get me out of my addiction at that point, I don't know what would have happened to me. So I stay. Even though he may be mistreating me today, right? Even though I'm actually not happy where I am, even though I may never have loved him, I stay anyway. Even though I may never have loved him, I stay anyway. And the reason is that you coming together, the sender and the receiver, you coming together was not based in love. It was actually based in disaster, right? It was based in your personal disaster and feelings of loss. the root of your connection, your coming together, was not love. It was the feeling of being like at a low point. And if someone is at a low point, it only takes someone who is slightly better off to help you, right? If they're slightly better off and they can offer you a place to stay if you're homeless, right? They just need to be slightly better off. Then it may feel like a significant help, and you may feel like you owe them your life, or that can be any kinds of strings attached, or the feelings of loyalty, duty. And if you should somehow break that, if you had at some point devoted yourself, because they helped me, I have devoted myself to honor this, like to honor what they did, and therefore I'm loyal. And if I'm loyal, there may be certain things I need to do, or to uphold, or to say, or to act as if, or something. So in that way, you are in some kind of power thing. No matter whether you have created it in your brain yourself, or whether someone has told you to, it's now an ongoing thing, right? It has now become maybe an unspoken loyalty thing. I think this goes on very much within families, right? That children, they stay because family is supposed to be safe, right? Or that's what society tells us, and that is what we want to believe. Relationships. If you meet someone new and you get very attracted to them, I would say if you come from a dysfunctional home, you should be a little bit cautious about who you get attracted to. It probably depends on which end or which part you are, right? Which one you are. If you're the one who stands with the power and you meet up with someone who is more weak than you, or in a weaker position, well, you stand in a place where you probably feel rather good. But if you are the other one, you may be a bit cautious here. At least when we talk about your heart. Because you can get in trouble here. There's some noise outside. I don't know if you can hear it. It feels a little bit like that what I'm saying, maybe someone doesn't want someone else to know about it, like that these dynamics, they keep us linked into certain situations that it has a stronger bond than we may actually admit. And keeping it alive, like staying in it, is much easier than leaving it. So staying in it is much easier than leaving it. again, if we talk about family, this is really a thing that I have looked on. Because if you love your family, you felt you had the most beautiful upbringing and parents were good, your childhood was good, and everything felt really great and safe and everything. I want to say your relationship to your mother and father and siblings perhaps probably was relaxed and safe, and you could express yourself and feel supported and things like that. And then this reading or this information is probably not for you. I tend to like connect with the scapegoats, right? And the scapegoats are not just, well, if you know the story about the scapegoat, it's like, it's a goat that gets sacrificed, you could say, right? It gets sacrificed as if it is just a prop, like that it has no living life, that it's not a being. It gets sacrificed as a property, not as a living being. So I see a scapegoat as it is a living being who has feelings and who senses and absorbs things from the surroundings as any other being would. But it gets sacrificed, mocked, bullied, put down, things like that. It gets shamed, guilt is put upon it. It becomes this emotional dustbin. Or like, as I call it also, like a toilet, right? It's looked at as a toilet. A toilet doesn't move. It stays the same. And it takes all the crap. It takes all the shit and all the crap, right? That's what I feel like. And then you flush. But that's what they are doing. Like the scapegoats are the flushing toilets of the earth. And what they get is the crap. They get the crap, right? They get all the... get all the icky stuff. Right? So they are processing some of the icky stuff that others have a difficult time handling. That's why they are projecting it onto others. So a yelling father, rah, 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 rah. And someone becomes the receiver here. And as I said, the scapegoat is maybe not in a position where they can fight back. And maybe that's why they become that receiver or the toilet, right? They are the flushing toilets of the world. Because they don't answer back, right? The toilet stays where it is. It's like a property thing. It stays where it is. And you sit on it and you, sorry for my language, but you shit in it or shit on it. And then you flush and you go out and you don't think what you've just done. You don't think about it. Right? You don't think what you just done. That's how I see the scapegoat. It's like every time if you are near a scapegoat and they are open, like they see themselves as weak. They have an understanding that they are weak and they cannot fight against something. So if you say something to them, they become like this toilet. They may not answer back, they may not protest, they may not fight you. They just become this, flushing toilet. They become the container or the receiver of some of this shit. And it's usually not helping them, right? It could reinforce their position, like they are even more now a toilet, or even more now because they just get more and more and more of it, right? It's like they may feel this is the only thing I deserve, right? I deserve the shit of the world. So when we project stuff upon others, some will fight us and say, I don't agree, I don't care what you think, I think you are stupid, or I think I don't agree. And others may not say anything, they may not argue with us, they may not oppose us, they may not go that route, they may not go that way. And it means that maybe they just absorbed the information. Maybe they not, maybe they agree with you, maybe they and maybe they do agree, like really, they have the same value as you. But otherwise, it could be that they are saying yes to avoid something even worse. If we take the scenario of the marriage where we have a man who beats up his wife. He drinks and he beats up his wife. But she stays because she stays because she believes that she has no ability to stay safe and be all right out there on her own, right? The reason why they met and got attracted to each other in the first place is probably because he felt strong to her. He felt stronger than her. And she needs someone strong. If she, at her core level, again, if the root in her was created when she was a child, and she was a scapegoat, let's say that. So she was already from a child position, a property of someone else. She was not regarded as important, less than having any kind of impact on the world. She knows that she's weak. She knows she's not fighting back. So when she becomes an adult and she goes out there, whom will she meet? She will meet someone who has power, and she will be drawn to him because she needs that power of protection. But what sometimes happens is that naively she may think that he will use the power to protect her. But he can just as well use the power against her. And then you're in this mess here. And she's not leaving because she doesn't think that she can cope out there. Her coping skills are weak. And he is maybe frustrated with his world, so he drinks, and when he comes home, he lets it all out on her. And then he apologizes the next day and so on. Then you have this cycle going. So she's still a scapegoat. She's still a toilet, right? She's still this flossing toilet for someone else. So be very mindful of whom, like what you are sending perhaps, right? And if you become the receiver of something here that you really don't want, I think that those who just send out something, they send out something every time you sit in a dating scene and you have loose conversation about something. In that conversation, you will find an invitation. You will find an invitation from one of them to figure out whether you will be the receiver. Like they send out an invitation and they will figure out if you become the receiver of it. If you become the receiver, they will pick it up. They will know by the way you answer or the way you lean in or something. They will figure it out. And this is where you have then a match. You have some kind of chemical or attraction or a chemical attraction here. You will have a match of some kind, power match of some kind. So if you are into that, if you are okay with that, many people are, I think, or it's subconscious, they don't know it. They don't know that they are in some kind of power thing. But if you don't want it, I feel like you should probably just think about it. Think about what people are saying to you to get you hooked, right? Are you someone who is willing, if people say they share their a sob story, right? They share some kind of sob story. Are you the recipient of it? Do you take it? Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Is there anything I can do? Now you open up to whatever they are sending, right? And they can hear it. They can hear, oh, here is someone who finds it okay to listen to some of this. They are receiving this, right? They are actually receiving this, meaning that I can send more of it. I can just send more, right? So you just, but if they are not, if they turn their back to this, I cannot send more. I cannot keep, I can keep sending, but it just kind of bloop, or it returns to me. I can't get rid of this. So what I'm sending out, I cannot get rid of. And I believe that many conversations and energy exchange like sex can be a way of releasing things that we do not want, especially from the male perspective, releasing something. Also in the sexual act, releasing something, and someone has become the receiver of it, which can be the feminine. So be mindful of who you interact with, especially if you from a very early age have been prone to be the receiver of shit, right? Because otherwise you can stay in those dynamics for decades without even knowing it. Some people even hollow themselves out. Like you can say, we could say that we have a person, so they have like a body, right? They have a body, but they are not just a body, right? There are organs and blood and stuff going on here. They are an energy source of somehow, but there are also feelings here and thoughts and belief system and things going on. There's speech, there's action, here. If people hollow themselves out, it means that there's less personality here. Like they allow almost someone else's part of someone else's existence to live in them, alongside with the smaller version of who they then are. Like they accept to carry something for someone else. That is even more terrible, right? Because it means that someone who is in great power or who is carrying a big trauma, that someone on the sideline is willing to say, oh, I'm willing to carry some of yours. Or that if they are in big power, so they have a big ego, they have a big power here, they are actually extending themselves further out than just one body. They are now extending it out into others who will become the receiver, who is willing to hollow themselves out and become very, very small. Someone else can become very, very, very big. So energetically, this is also possible. This is why I feel like boundaries is very important for Scorpio in either way, depending on which one you are here, right? If a Scorpio really gets their heart broken, like devastatingly breaking their heart, you could end up losing power. And you could be the one who is now in a dynamic with someone who is more powerful. So depending on where you are in your life, I think that if you like power and you listen to this, well, of course you can use some of it to get even more power. But you can also maybe use this information if you actually feel as you were once in power and now you feel weak because something broke your heart, right? And that the more passionate you are about something, the more you are actually in danger of, you could say, break your heart. The more you're into something, the more you can lose. Like the more vital it becomes, the more important it becomes. Losing it or not having it or something, it becomes like that is the loss, right? And again, this dream, this person, this project, this wish, this obsession or this desire, what was the root of it from the get-go? I also believe that if you as a Scorpio, you went out in the world as a child and you had this open heart and you seek these raw, vulnerable connections with your friends and family and everything. And what you realized out there was that this is dangerous. If I'm too open here, I can get my heart broken very easily. And you may have felt that, like really big impact. This is where I also believe that a Scorpio can turn from love. Like they can turn away from love and seeking power instead. Right? They, as I said, the Cancerians, they are the love and light bringers. They sit in this romantic, magical little imaginary world of unicorns and love and peaches and they're very romantic and young. The water sign is very young here. Scorpios, I think they know that, right? They remember this, right? They remember this stuff. But they have also learned something. Like they know that there's more to this world than just this magical little round here that may or may not actually just be a fantasy. That there's more here. If you have to deal with the real world, there's more. And I believe that if you get your heart broken, you can turn to power instead. Like I cannot trust love, right? So I turn to power instead. But power is just not giving you what you are actually searching for, what it is that you are really, really hoping for. It's still the love, but if I can't have that, I choose something else instead. To survive, to not lose myself, to not lose that core. I choose the power instead. And then you become very skilled at this. I think that's why any Scorpio, their life is one big life lesson of this. This is like living in that field, knowing what's there. Get to feel the moisture, as I said. What's in the moisture? How can I juggle this? How can I shape it, form it? How can I use it to my advantage? What can I learn from this? How can I become a master of some of this? And then it depends on what way you go. The power is one way, but the power is always, I said that in the Leo reading also, you can't have power if you have no opponent. Or you can't have power if there's nobody to rule over. If you are on an island by yourself, you cannot have power. Because there's nobody there to own, possess, rule over, mock at, like there's nobody you can be more than. Or power is always and only present if you have something that is out of power or powerless or less powerful. This is the only dynamic where you can feel power in some way. Otherwise, it's not there. As we have with many other things in duality, if it's light, it's not necessarily dark at the same time, right? If you have darkness, you can put a flashlight in there, but if it's dark, it's dark. If it's light, it's light. If you are tall, you are not short. But if you are the only man in the world, you don't know you're tall or short. You have nobody to compare with. So we need comparison. We need competition, perhaps. So if you are in a position where you do feel powerful, it's only because someone else is not. And they are thinking they are not, and they are letting you believe that you have power. Otherwise, you don't have power. So the dynamic of power cannot exist by itself, per se. It becomes more evident if someone is playing this game, right? This power game with you. If you can get someone to, of course you could have a narcissistic ego, a grandiose narcissistic ego, and think you are the top of the world. But if this narcissist gets someone to play with him in this dynamic, now it becomes evident to the world also. Because he can show this off, like he can bring this person with him, right? That's if you have power over your child. Like you can get your child to do something if you order it to, or you tell them to. Sit down, and they sit down, right? That is, well, maybe a minor thing, but it's actually a power control still. They are doing it because of the dynamic you have together here. If someone else told them to sit down, maybe they will, maybe they won't. It's not the same dynamic, right? So if you are in power, you could say, be grateful that someone is not, because otherwise you cannot be in power. If you are the one who is not in power, and you do have someone who is in power around you somehow, well, it can serve a purpose. If you are not the one in power, you don't have responsibility. They do. Sometimes certain people like that. They don't want to have the responsibility. They want to be out of that. They don't like it. They don't want to be in charge. And someone may like it very much. They thrive on it. So maybe that's a better combination. It just has to be real and authentic. So I'm not saying it's necessarily bad. I'm just saying if you feel unhappy in it, something is wrong here in that dynamic then. Can it be a bad thing to have power? Yes, it can. I said something, I believe it was in the Leo reading also, and Leo is about power, right? It's the king energy, sun king energy. Power is a special thing. If you were, let's say, I gave an example of the poor family in India, for instance, right? And the family the parents have worked hard all their life in the field, and they have managed to get together some kind of money so they can put the eldest son in school. And the plan is that because you are now the eldest son and you go to school, you get an education and you get a position where you can earn money that you can send home to this poor family of 14 people, right? But the responsibility now is put on you. So you have to go to college, you have to go to school, and learn a lot of stuff. Get the position, get the job, get the salary, and send the money home. But what if you were actually a person that is not like a Leo, right? They are, the composition of this one is maybe more like a follower and not like a leader, or not like someone who is supposed to sit in power. Maybe they really don't like this. But they have been appointed to do this, right? It's expected, it's implied, and out of loyalty, blah, 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 as I already mentioned, they're probably trying to fulfill it. But it may never have been their own wish. Again, they become a prop. They become a tool for something. But without really regarding, what if the second eldest son would actually be much more fitted for this? Or a daughter, perhaps. Because they are a son, like they are a Leo son, for instance. Why not give them the chance, right? But because of tradition and whatever, then it's the eldest son. In a royal family, the eldest son is the king, not the second son. Unless the eldest one dies, right? Otherwise, the second son or the third son could be better equipped. Like their personality is better equipped to do this job. But that's not how it works, right? That's not how it works. So getting be appointed to power is, well, even in a friend group, right? Sometimes within a girl's friend group, there could be this idea of the princess. Like one of these girls is the princess, right? She is appointed to be the princess by the other girls, or even by the other gender, like they are most beautiful, perhaps they have a certain look or something. But maybe they don't like it, like maybe they don't want that attention. Maybe they are outwardly beautiful, but they don't want the attention. They don't want to be looked at as another one would maybe thrive in this role, but another one would maybe, especially if they are not proclaiming this role themselves, if they are not proclaiming this themselves, that they have never asked for that position, this role, they probably don't like it. Like they may keep it up because that's a way of that's the role they are now playing in this group, but they may not like it, right? And it requires something. Maybe it requires a certain wardrobe. Maybe it suddenly requires makeup, a different hairstyle, different shoes. Maybe it requires her to be really smart and fashionable or something. And maybe she's not even like that. You know, like that. There's so many like ways of having these dynamics going on. And I say it that most of the time people have masks on, right? And it's because it's easier to keep the mask on than taking it off. If you take it off, you could disappoint a lot of people by acting in a different way, looking in a different way, not performing and being in the role. And you play a role for a reason. So if you are the what's it called? The palm queen, you cannot suddenly become plain Elaine because she has a role to play. If she is there, someone else can be plain Elaine and be more invisible and have no impact and be little and small. But someone has to be why is that so difficult? The palm queen. Someone has to be this so that I don't have to, for instance, right? So we can put people on a pedestal so that I don't have to be that one. Maybe I put myself on a pedestal so that I'm not small and insignificant and without power and impact. You see, it's like this can all go on in your head. It can be like manifested in front of you. It can be a family dynamic thing. But there's something to be gained and something to be lost by both of them, I think. I just think it's important to figure out which one you are. Which one you are, and if you are in power, just know that you can only be in power because someone chooses not to be. Or they are designed to be. Somehow they have been designed to be, shaped to be. But that's the only way this can exist. In a dualistic world, that's the only way. And then again, as I said, a Pisces knows all about this. They have been there. And maybe they found it very troublesome. Like you can go to the top, but you can just as easily go down again. And again, a Pisces also knows it's the elderly sign. It's the eldest sign of all signs. So it knows that it's just a matter of time. We have seen it throughout history. Rains have come, like big, you could say, you could just take the city of Rome. At some point, the city of Rome was like the center of the earth. It has immense power. Trade routes, gold, religious power, gladiator, all kinds of stuff. It was the power center of the world. It no longer is. Right? We could talk about Atlantis, right? At one point, if you believe in that, it had an enormous power. And then suddenly it got flooded. So it's a matter of time. I think that any kind of reign, you could take Hitler, right? Hitler had a time of power and then not. So there is this blush of power and then not. You can have this idea that you have power for a while and then you lose it. At least you will lose it in the sense that when you are born, you don't have that much power. Someone older and stronger and bigger has. When you become that big one, you may have that power over someone who is smaller. And when you become elder, you will lose some of this power to someone who is now young and strong and active. So it's a matter of time to realize that power is not infinite. Power is, well, the energy source of power is infinite, as is the infinite source of non-power, but seen as a yin and yang element. I believe that is infinite, but your power, your sense of power is not infinite. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of life, it's a matter of circumstances. Suddenly, out of the blue, I got a vertigo attack these 6 years ago. I couldn't stand on my feet. I had no balance. Out of the blue. Power is an imaginary thing. It doesn't really exist like that. It shifts. I've said it many times before. Power is like it's fire energy. It's not water. But the water dynamic can be, you would say, attracted to the power, right? If you can have the love and the gentleness and the openness and the raw and vulnerable situation, you can be attracted to the power. And the power is fire. And we know what happens with water and fire. It can become steamy, where none of them are actually. The water is now becoming so out of balance that it becomes air, moisturous air, right? And the fire is also not prevailing. It actually gets flushed out. There's no flame anymore now, it's just steam. It's like none of them actually survives here. It just becomes something else. I think Pisces knows this. Like they know that it's a matter of time. Power is not real. It's a game. It's a game. And because I smell it from a mile away, I'm just out of here. I don't want to play in it. I don't want to be there. So they're leaving. Perhaps unless they were a scapegoat. So they were designed to be the flushing toilet. Yeah. Okay, I'm not even into the tarot, but let's look at those. Page of Earth. Page of Earth. So a page is young, usually. A child. So I have earth energy here, even though I'm talking to a water sign. Or about a water sign. Maybe you do have a child that is an earth sign here. Or you are trying to attempting to have a little more grounding perhaps in your life, a little more earthy experience perhaps, or I get it, it feels a little bit like the Fool energy, and the page can be like a Fool energy because it's young, like this. Like I see him like he's on a new, like he's on a quest for knowing about Earth, like knowing about something tangible. It's like a new situation where you're learning something new, right? A situation where you may find yourself as the newbie or the novice of something here that is probably feeling new to you, like it feels, and that's why you have this novice new, this I don't know about this, right? Again, if you're a water sign, so this tangible thing, I said in the beginning something that there are different kinds of power, right? Earthy power can be, like successful in money, financial stability, financial or educational. It could be something like, as a page here, I want to say to have this earthy mastery, or like to master the earthly realm. One of the most important things is trust. Like you have to trust that the earth you're walking on here is actually solid, that you can build on this. That if we talk about foundation here, this it's like you're forming some kind of foundational trust in something, also in yourself. Like you're taking these steps here. Oh, this is okay. This is also okay. Nothing is burning here. Nothing seems unstable. Nothing seems like it falls apart. Okay, so maybe this could be a place where I could do something perhaps here. I could maybe I think it feels a little bit like I'm new at trusting what's here, or what's around me, or how, like the tangible things. But again, it could also be, as I said, being a prop, being a property, right? The feeling of being someone's property. that you are a prop, that you are a thing, that you are a thing, not a living being, right? Let me get a little one, but I get, but at the same time, I get the feeling of like exploring, and that's what the page does. The page does that, like a little child. They crawl around in the grass, right? They find a little flower, or they see a little fly, or a hummingbird, or they find a bumblebee, or a rose, or a bit of earth or dust or something, and they look at it or taste it, or I don't know, but children, they do that, right? They explore. It's like being a little explorer here. Little in your attempt, still new at this. Like you are a new explorer here. Trying to explore something new here. Like I get from this boy here, there's a lot of light in him. Like he's really sweet, and he's very sweet. And light-hearted, and like, come on, Dad, let's go fishing, right? This would you go with me, right? There's an enthusiasm for life, a newness, and somehow also a trust, right? That there's something fun out there, something nice and fun and sweet out there. This is what he is like. He's very sweet and very, I don't know, maybe to a certain point, someone could watch him and think that he is a bit naive, right? That like an elderly person could look at him and think, oh, yeah, but he doesn't know yet, right? He doesn't know yet what life is about. Like someone sits with a different viewpoint, right? About the earth, about life on earth. And someone is quite enthusiastic and new here and wants to go. And someone could sit and think, yeah, but you don't know yet, right? So maybe you have a child who is like this, or who at least embraces some kind of earth element, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn energy. Maybe you would like this to be a little more present in your life, right? That you could be the, like maybe you're the one over here who says, yeah, but you don't know yet. Like it's because you're young. You haven't been here very long, so you haven't experienced it yet. But maybe you would like to be this one. Like maybe you want to be this one again, right? It is the overall energy, so it could be also like you like looking back when life and when you were still trusting life, right? Like you're looking back at like memories. Maybe you look in photographs, right, or something. You go through a photo album and you see yourself from way back, and you say, yeah, but this is when I didn't know. This is when I didn't know, right? This is when I was still trusting. This is when I was still open and trusting and sweet. Or you are watching someone who is open and trusting and sweet, right? And they sent this to you. They sent this to you. And you are just over here, yeah, but it's because you don't know yet. So you don't want to receive what it is they're sending to you. That life can be fun and like lighthearted and beautiful, and easy and safe. It feels almost like couldn't you just try, right? Couldn't you just try to come with me? Almost like he wants to show you something here. Underlying energy, the Nine of Water. Nine of Water is a card of self-care, self-love. It's a card of choosing to fill up your own cups instead of perhaps filling up others, and being there for others. This is where you concentrate more on, you could say, your own emotions, caring for yourself, doing self-caring things. This is a driver, so as I say, it's like an energy that comes from within you, that is pushing something forward, so that you end with this. Like it drives something, and it drives an energy forward so that you end with something like this. That you are now standing here, or you are now taking this step of wanting to maybe become the explorer again. Like maybe it's almost like you wanna go back to when, or reinvent, like there is a part of you that you can learn from, right? That maybe it suits you. It's a self-caring act to learn from children. Maybe just watch them, right? Just watch children. Watch their active exploration and sense of wonder and imaginary realm or whatever here. He's very sweet. And with these almost like antlers here, I almost want to say, if you have seen the movie Sweet Tooth, that he has kind of that tone to him, like he's quite sweet and he trusts in his father and the story the father tells him. And he has really no bad intentions. Like he is a beautiful, sweet little boy. With a great sense of fairness in him. That he doesn't want to hurt anyone, right? He's and if he hurts, like if he, let's say he goes hunting here or something, he's not just shooting all over the place. Like he would get the fish or find the rabbit or something, but he would not, like he would not kill 20, right? There's no reason for that. It's There's a fairness with him here. And it's like, please come with me, because I can show you I can show you that there is something good here on earth, right? There's something good here. So it can be a part of yourself. It can be a child you know, perhaps. Or like this, it's like a new feeling that it's like I'm supposed to explore something. I'm supposed to, I feel a growing wish to explore something here. To explore the world again, or to try again, or something. And the driver for this is like a self-caring, self-nurturing, maybe a deep dive here. Maybe you've had a deep dive. We see it like sometimes you, and Scorpio, you know that if you go to the deep dark water, sometimes you do find a jewel here, right? Sometimes you do find something, a treasure box. The treasure boxes can actually be in the hidden realm here, right? You can actually find like big treasures or big truth or big secrets or something here. And when they come to the surface and you can take care of them, you can care for it or heal it here. Then you can, then the way you watch life or the way you look at maybe your circumstances are different. That could also be the feeling. It's like I'm looking at my living room and my living circumstances, but it's like it feels a little different. It's like he would like to explore like a little bit of the sweetness of life, like that having an innocence. And again, this one is not about power, like that's not really. They want connection and collaboration and yeah, connection. I want to, that's what they want. Like he's saying, Dad, come, let's go fishing, right? Are you coming? And they're quite sweet and very, and well, maybe over here you're the dad and you're kind of thinking, you see that sweetness here, right? You see the innocence and the sweetness, and it's like, yeah, but it's because he doesn't know yet. He doesn't know what's coming. But he just wants you to come, right? He wants you to come along. So I get first chakra here, root chakra. I get the crow. And I get 10 of Michael. So when I have the cards looking like that, because normally I would turn them so you can see them a little bit better, but actually I want to say that these cards go with those that are up here. Like I think actually that when I said that, I have said earlier on in the reading here that what is the root cause, or what was the root feeling of something when you met someone, or when some kind of attachment or bond or friendship or something was formed. What was the root of it? And here we have the first chakra, which talks about root chakra. It's this is primal attachment style, the first attachment we connect with when we are born. This is where we form the very first connection, the very first innocent attempt to have connection with someone. And as I said, this one is very sweet, very open, and really wants connection. Why are you not coming, Dad? Right? And as I said, I felt this feeling of someone sitting over here and thinking, they see the sweetness, right? They can see it, but they think of it a bit like naive, like, yeah, but you don't know what's coming, all the trouble that is out there, right? And actually, if you take the Sweet Tooth film, the dad does that. And not without, it's not without reason that he does it, but he's telling his boy that if people find him, if people find Sweet Tooth, they will probably kill him, right? They will see him as a monster. They will see him as bad. So the father protects him and prepares him for all this, like, bad thing that could happen, bad things that is out there. But he's not telling him that there are others like him. He's not telling him that he's not the only one. He's not telling him, well, he loves him, like his father loves him. But he also sees that because he has this sweet, maybe a bit naive and very trusting, open heart, he sees it almost like a problem, right? Because, well, first of all, he is like that. That is his beingness. But at the same time, he has this atlas. He sticks out. People know that this is not a human, like he is a hybrid here. And if this is figured out, then it could be killed, right? It could be slaughtered, you could say. And the father looks at him and says, but you don't know yet, right? You don't know all the bad things in the world. So when I hold these two together, I actually feel like, Scorpio, if this is you or someone you're dealing with, that like their root, the real original you or the real original them is like this, like they're very sweet, like really, really sweet here, and very kind and good-hearted and fair, and this could be a thing in you, that you actually have this in you. This is the original you. Before everything, right? Before you, I don't know, maybe incarnated, before you even got here, that's the root. That is the you, or the one you, if you are dealing with someone here. That is who they are. But you know, stuff may have been projected onto him. As I said, like the father in this, they know something about the world. And it's not a lie. Like there is truth in it. But because Sweet Tooth has no other source of information, he can nothing but trust whatever is broadcasted towards him here. And the father really loves him. So it's to protect him, right? To keep him safe and protect him. And this can be, as I said, this can be the real true core in you here. The real true core that we all, to a minimum, need in us. And when this is threatened, this is, as I said, when the Scorpio, like when hell breaks loose, this is when this one may be threatened, right? Because this is actually at the core here. Very sweet, very beautiful, kind, caring, light, very light here. Very loving, actually, and caring. and open and wants to connect and trusts, like he's trusting here. That is actually at the root here. But you see, if someone is like this, well, in the world we live in, sometimes it's a good thing, right? Sometimes it's not a good thing. I have the crow here with the moon in the background, right? What I see for this is like, actually the story I get here, or the thing I get is that out of self-care, so out of care for yourself, you may have put this sweet tooth here, which is your jewel here. You may have put it down here to protect it, right? You may have like sunken it down here to protect it here. And you see, like she sits here and looks at it, right? But she may, to protect this, it could have been sunken down here, like a secret, right? Keeping it safe underwater here. And this one is here to kind of protect it and treasure it and keeping it safe, right? The Nine of Water is about self-care. You could say self-protection even, or self-perseverance. That it, when you see the crow, I see it like it's in front of this. Like it stands as a protector, a guardian in front of something. And the crow, you could say, is like well, the crow is usually known as, some see it as a bad omen, or that witches, like an occult creature, right? It belongs with witches and sorcerers, and it belongs to the darker world. But the crow is actually highly, at least in this book here, from the mystical shaman, is a very skilled psychic creature. It's pretty skilled and can it can be a great protector. In the book here it says, Crow is the keeper of universal law, the law of truth. Crow teaches us to walk our talk, to find congruence between who we say we are and who we really know ourselves to be. This winged one insists that we speak truth, that we create truth instead of searching for it, and that we bring truth to every situation we find ourselves in. When you speak the truth and practice truth, eventually everything you say becomes true. Your power to co-create with the truth is the universal law. Correct what is untrue in your life without judgment. Let the truth set you free. Be true to your word. Crows arrives just as we have convinced ourselves that what we are doing is right and justified. And while this may be the case in the realm of relative truth, in the higher realm of absolute truth, it is not. Look deeply into your heart and remain alert, lest you convince yourself of something that isn't deeply true for you, or perhaps is not the highest truth. Do not seduce yourself with illusions. So the crow is maybe a gatekeeper of a truth here. A truth about something. And she is underwater here, right? A truth that may have been hidden, or has been, as I said, there could be a self-perseverance act that may have occurred at some point where this one was, as I said, kind of sunken down here to stay here, right? To stay with you, like that. There could be an attachment to someone here because they are very sweet and very beautiful here, and we want to preserve it like that. That's what the father did also in the film, right? It's like to preserve him as beautiful and light as he could. He removed him from the world, and they lived excluded in a forest by themselves, because this was the only way he could keep him as original and as sweet as he actually was. And they are actually in the film called hybrids, because they are half human and half animal. And to keep him safe, the father did this drastic thing. He left everything, and he took his baby, when he was still a baby, into the forest to keep him safe, to make him survive. So you would say there could be a part of you that to make this survive, or at some point, because you wanted it to survive, to like this little core of yours that has to stay intact. Because you did that, you may have had to hide it. Maybe you had to, as like I said, sink it down here into a treasure box here, right? Maybe this is the big jewel here that is still there. It's still there, and maybe you discover it. Like if you have been occupied with like self-care and really diving deep into your emotions, you may have discovered this. You may have found this. And what it is that it's this beautiful, but very new and very young and very little, perhaps, in its expression. Could be a feeling, like a feeling in your body, thoughts that kind of just bubble in you. And it has this lightness to it. When it comes, it feels very light, very bubbly, very light-hearted and kind and sweet. And look at it. It's like, oh, like seeing a little puppy or something. Oh, how sweet, right? Like being all adored by it almost, right? That you figure something out that is very adoring, actually. The feeling of adoring, so you have something and adoring it here. Adoring it. And I feel like actually adoring it brings it more and more out. It allows you to connect more and more with it here. Because it is originally a part of you, or originally a part of someone else here whom you are connecting with. I feel this is internal, actually. I feel it's an internal thing. Like it's inside you, but it's actually who you are, or like a core thing in you. This is very primal. Root chakra is very primal, very original, very so it could be the feeling that you find something very sweet in yourself, right? Something very kind and sweet. Or you know that it's present in someone else. Like, let's say if you see like someone, You have known them all your life. You have known them all your life, and you know that when they were children, they were like this, right? But you meet them when they are adults, and you see this harsh, tough exterior that you don't really recognize. Like, you know that, but inside I know that there's something in there that is totally different, right? It's that this is not the one I remember, right? This is not the one but because life, again, as I said, it could be you're flipping through your photo album and you see yourself in a young version here. And then it's like you stand here in this elder version and you look at him and it's like, yeah, but that's because he was very young. He didn't know. He was inexperienced. He was naive. He was not informed. Right? He wasn't, at this point, he was just, like he just got out of kindergarten, or something. He was so young, and now in an elder version, you look at this and you're just thinking, yeah, but that was before everything else happened. So it's like remembering an older version of yourself or a younger version of yourself, and now you see yourself in this more restricted, more angry, maybe more revengeful, or more, like a more closed off, untrusting energy. Maybe that's what you're realizing, that something shaped you into becoming closed off and more angry and more and it's like you look at this and maybe you think, yeah, but that's ages ago or even lifetimes ago. I don't recall this much, or yeah, I barely recall it, but what do you want, right? What do you want, right? Why is this here? But then we have the 10 of Michael, and the 10 of Michael is like the 10 of Swords. And I have had the 10, it was 10 of Wands in some of the other readings, but there's definitely a feeling of either 10 of Wands or 10 of Swords to somehow close off some kind of cycle. That something needs to end here. We see how she's bowing, like the end of the show. I have been dancing this role for so long. I've been this ballet dancer and dancing this role for so long. Now the show is over. I'm done. It's over. I retire, or I'm out of here. So what I have been doing up till now is ending. A situation has ended and you are finally free. New opportunities for happiness will now flow. Put the past behind you. As this is an air element, Michael, and the blue color is air, this could have been something that has been going on in your mind, right? Again, the crow here is about the truth. So it could have been that a lot of self-care actually gotten you to find a treasure, some kind of truth hidden deep down, and it needed a crow, like it needed the power of the crow, almost like an occult, you could say, devotion to find this, perhaps, to figure this out. And it's revealing something. Because it's revealing something, it changes everything. Because the sweetness here inside you, this could be, maybe this was taken advantage of, or it could have been that you have forgotten all about this, and for a long, long time, you never saw yourself as light or sweet. you didn't see yourself as light or sweet, or that you could be someone who could be adored, liked, loved, and so on. That was all forgotten. It was all put away here. It was all saved down here. It was all saved. This one was saved down here because you had to, right? You had to save this jewel down here. But you know it's because over water there's war. There's catastrophe. Hell breaks loose. So I'm sinking it down here. I'm sinking it down here, saving it down here. As I said, this is the root, this is the most original form of you that cannot be threatened, right? This is the absolute core that cannot be threatened. So I'm sinking it down here and preserving it, but to preserve it, as I said, maybe hell went loose, right? And if hell breaks out for a Scorpio, you are sinking it down here, you're keeping it safe here, but what happens over water is hell breaking out to preserve this. So to preserve this little part, something else had to happen. And this could be where, as I said in the beginning, if a Scorpio is threatened like this, they will take out any armor they can to fight off this threat. The threat to kill this, right? To kill this, they are taking out any armor they can. And sometimes it means that you're taking out the opposite of this one. As I said, now from being very sweet and open and trusting and caring, the switch turns, and it's about power now. Now it's about just surviving and having power here. Like, I have to eliminate the threat to gain the power. And this is where hell breaks loose, right? This is where now you have the attack from the Scorpio, the venom, the emotional power dynamics. It comes out and takes over. And when you do that, it can be difficult to come back and be this one. Right? As I said, it's like someone over here looks at it and says, yeah, but this is before. This is before hell broke loose. This is before I had to defend myself in maybe a very aggressive way. So I remember slightly this, but may not identify with it anymore, right? Because of this other thing that I had to do or have become, I can no longer go back to this. I hope you get my point. It's like the older version says, but yeah, this is a former me or a former version. But now I know something else, and I had to become something else. But it's like there is a truth about this circumstance that changes everything. Like if this one was, you know, like it was sunken down here, preserved, but not remembered. It was preserved, but not remembered. It was important that it stayed in its original shape, untouched by the world, you could say, or the chaos. So it's preserved. This part is preserved here. But in order to preserve it, you had to like really get it away to a point where you no longer may have remembered. Like to take it totally out of the influence of whatever happened, to keep its original shape and form and everything. You had to take it totally out of the life, I want to say. So preserving this one came to a point where you almost like you had to forget it, like you had to forget about it. I think you forgot about it. I think you forgot about this part of yourself. You forgot about trust and innocence and pure connection, and you forgot about it. It was hidden down here. It can be someone that you lost, perhaps. Maybe you lost someone here. And they, this feeling of losing this, or it's preserved somehow. There's something you know about this one. But it has been so deep down here that it took a lot of self-care and understanding and acceptance, and to even find it. Like you may have been, you know, like swimming through all your deep water here, and it's almost like she finds this treasure and it's like, oh my god, like a surprise, or like I found it. Like I thought it was long lost, but I found it. I find it again, or I find the feeling again, the feeling of sweetness again, the feeling of trust again. I found it, right? But it comes with a truth here, right? That you have to go through the crow here before you can have the diamond here, or the treasure. Like you can look at it here, but to connect with it, you have to face some kind of truth here. And this truth could have been like a real problem for you, like a mind problem here. It could be the feeling of a mind fog off, like fog off, right? Fog up. That maybe you had to go through like some really depression, like realizing why it was sunken down there in the first place. Again, the root of something. The root of something. Why was it sunken there in the first place? Right? And in the case of Sweet Tooth, the film of Sweet Tooth, there was a virus on the planet. It's a fictive film, right? But there was a virus on the planet, and a lot of people died. But some babies were also born, and those babies, they had this hybrid thing about them. And for most parents, this was shocking, right? That they looked like they had like atlas, or they had fur, or they had gills or something, right? They had some kind of animal thing about them, or some kind of, you could say, maybe misformation or something, and some kind of difference, a different look or something. But they were the sweetest children, right? The most beautiful, sweetest earth keepers, you could say. Peacekeepers and earth keepers, right? They're very beautiful, kind, sweet-hearted children. But it may not have been what the parents wanted, right? It may not have been what the parents wanted or were expecting. And because those children came right after a virus, some thought of them as, even though they were very sweet, some thought of them as they were like the product of the devil, right? That the virus was the reason, and why could they survive when so many others were dying, right? How could they survive when so many others were dying? So it's like they were immune somehow. They were immune to the virus that killed people. Why was that? There was a mystery around why they survived, why they came at all. And therefore, you could say, the openness, again, people are not very open if something looks off. Like if you can't, the openness to accept to love and accept a disabled child that has a disformation or something, born without a leg, or only have 3 fingers or something. Usually the parents take it and love it, right? But those others around, they may not accept it in the same way, right? So they may look at it strangely, right? They may project certain things upon it, and to keep something safe here. It was sunken down here. It was sunken down here. Hidden, forgotten, even though it was the most beautiful energy here. And maybe that exactly because of that, it was saved, like it was supposed to be saved down here. In a time, you could say, like a time loop, where time doesn't really exist. I put it in here, in a time capsule almost, right? I preserve it in a time capsule here. But then it's like, it's almost like it got lost. You couldn't find it here. And when you found it here, you saw, oh, I found it, I really found it. And how adorable this is, right? How adorable this is. And that's the root, right? That is the root of something here. maybe the root, again, if this is a child in your life, it could be a child with a handicap or and some kind of disformation or misformation or something, some kind of, but they are the most sweetest children in the world, right? Very trusting and open and if you were the parent of this child, it could have been that you really wanted to protect them and keep them safe, maybe keep them away from, like the ordinary bullying school life or something. Because you knew, right? You knew that they were always almost too sweet, right? That they could become an object of bullying. Because they are very open and trusting, they would be open to the suggestions, right? That someone would be open to suggestions here, that if someone was projecting something upon them, they would be open and take it in. Maybe you realize this was you, right? That I was that one. And I was projected something upon me, and it changed me. Therefore, he was lost, right? This version was lost. As I said, this older version looking and saying, yeah, but that was before something. Before something happened. Before hell broke loose. That was me, right? But something happened, right? That there's some kind of truth here, and somehow with the crow, I always get like a darker element, a shadow, a secret or something, or that when the hell broke loose, it kind of evokes this tsunami inside the Scorpio, right? It evokes this tsunami of survival skills. As I said, all this, everything you can imagine you can bring out as a scorpion to sting, to get the thread away. And the water can be, like it can be a tsunami, right? You're creating a tsunami of some kind of attack to keep something away. But when you do that, it can be very destructive. You can be destructive. Maybe you realize, you yourself realized a power in you you may not have known you had. And others have witnessed it as well. Maybe you destroyed something, like you became out of control. And when you destroy something, you become very aggressive or violent, perhaps. It's difficult to identify with this one after that, right? After that, it's like, but I am this also. I have just exhibited this. So this side of me was before, right? Before this happened, I was this. The sweetest, beautiful boy, right? But now I know, and that's the crow here. Now I know I have a shadow, right? I have something else in me. And this thing I have in me, this temper, this other thing, this power thing I have in me is dark. It's dark like a monster, right? And realizing that I have this, and I used it once. I used it to defend myself. But when I used it just once, I can no longer be this. I'm no longer the same, right? I have stepped away from this. It's like, when a young girl is a virgin, she's like that, right? She has this innocent way of being. The first time she has sex with someone and she is no longer a virgin, something changes, and it's inevitable. It's unchangeable. When that event has happened, she is no longer a virgin. She has now been influenced by something, and because of that, she can no longer be this one. Like, the identity is now different. You cannot stand only like this. This is what happens in the dualistic world. So you may have a core of this Scorpio, but you have at some point exhibited a different side of you, and maybe you know it, and maybe you are fearing it, that you know that it's there, and it can come to the surface, right? It can come to the surface, and maybe you had to demonstrate it once to protect this core of yours, right? And because you demonstrated it, you cannot go back. Like, it's the dualistic part of being who you are. And that's the truth you may have been struggling with for a long, long time, right? Maybe you have been upholding a very harsh shell. Like a very distrusting, very harsh shell of contempt and anger and frustration towards the world, because this was the one you became. And in that process, you somehow lost this one. And you didn't know how to recall it, right? And how to get some of this back. Some kind of sweetness, some kind of trust. You didn't know how to get it back. That would be like the bad boy, right? The bad boy that has experienced something so cruel that now the only thing he knows is the free life and the bike he has, and no rules. Like, he's not accepting any rules. He's the rebel. He swears he doesn't care. He can become violent if you threaten him, right? He doesn't believe in sweetness. He doesn't believe in love and romance. He believes in having power. He believes in things like that. And he can't give in, right? He can never be sweet again. Because if he's sweet again, he's losing the rest of the power that he has fought to have, that he has fought to gain. And upholding that role by, being a Hell's Angels, or by being in a group of something. And you have been in a group of something here. You have performed something here. And all your thought patterns have aligned with it at some point. At some point you trusted this. You believed in it. You believed in the power. You believed in using that power, perhaps. Being harsh and cold and distrusting and everything. But maybe you also knew that something was missing. Like, you were not happy in that state, right? You were not happy there. And the reason for that is that it has nothing to do with love. There's no happiness in that state. It's just a state of survival. Or coping, or whatever you want to call it. It's not a happy state. And somehow you've done something here to recover something. Something deep down that also reminds you that you are not only cold and harsh, perhaps. And there's more to life than just power struggles. That at some point you had some of this in your life. Maybe you lost it. And due to that loss, hell broke loose, right? You started drinking or drugging, or I don't know, you had this different way of being. You became this other version. And maybe you do remember, like this was before, like this was me before, or you look at the photo album of this one you lost, right? And you realize why you are this way you are now. Because something changed or died. Again, when hell broke loose, this one died. It may have felt that way, like he died. That part of your identity died because you broke some kind of hell loose. And when you did that, you cannot have an identity that is both a monster, perhaps, like a violent monster, and then at the same time this. It's like you can't have both. You had to decide, right? Which one do I go with? And the most powerful one is probably the bad guy, the harsh one, not this one. But this is actually, you do have this also, right? This is, it's very, very sweet, this one, very sweet. Beautiful boy, trusting, with an open heart and beautiful light. But it's like that light was suddenly turned into a moon here, right? It from a shining star or sun, it was turned into something else here, a much darker, because the truth of the matter was that maybe you are the one who that you had to give this up for some kind of reason. Or it somehow just dissipated because this switch was turned on. The switch was turned on, and you created a tsunami, perhaps, of defense in some situation. And when the moment you did that, that's the truth, right? The moment you did that, something changed in the dynamic between you and them, or you and yourself here, part of you. It's like it got lost, right? It's and therefore it's like you have this feeling of like not pretending. I don't want to pretend anymore, right? I don't want to keep up an act. I want my communication, that's also air element, I want my communication to be different. The way I have been thinking about myself, the way I have been thinking about others, the thing you could say the grief I may have felt, but I couldn't put a finger on what happened or where it came from. The depression I've had, the negative thinking, because when the 10 comes after the 9, and the 9 of air, or the 9 of swords, is a depressive state. It's a feeling of being depressed, sleepless nights, feeling haunted by your thoughts or memories or something, like feeling in this dark place, right? And that is also the crow, that you were faced with some kind of truth or some kind of memories or something. You're faced with something. And because you're realizing something here, it comes to an end. This is where the show is over. A truth is revealed here, or you get to some kind of truth, or you want to be very truthful. That could also be it, that you want to be very truthful. you realize your own participation in something, perhaps. You see how you may have created problems for yourself, right? You may have realized how you have created problems for someone else, perhaps, here. And that in itself maybe changes something. It may change that from now on I speak the truth. From now on I will be authentic. From now on I will no longer hide. I will not pretend. I will not play a role. From now on I will speak my truth. I will defend myself, perhaps. I will not be in anyone's power game, right? I will not participate in that. This could be the end of mind games also here. The show is over. I'm done with this, right? I'm done with these power games. I'm done with power or mind games, right? I'm done with that. Realizing it's not leading me anywhere. Actually, it leaves me further away from what I actually truly want. Can I have a card of 9 of water here? Because I feel like that there could be like a story. Well, I get appreciation, and of course, right, appreciation makes sense. It's like she found the rose here. Like finding something truly treasurable here. Because you're doing some kind of self-care here. You're in a self-care process where you're trying to fill up your own cups and really take good care of yourself. You're finding something treasurable here, something very like the rose, right? You find something very beautiful and original and adoring, something that is very adoring. But the act in this self-care act, I want to say one of the things here is appreciation. One of the things you're doing is appreciating everything about yourself or everything about someone else. That you really dive into what it means to be appreciative of what is and what is around you and everything you have learned, everything you know. Appreciating yourself also. Appreciating this little part of yourself that may have been hidden, right? But it's actually very light-hearted and very beautiful and sweet and fair and but also young. You could say a bit naive or innocent, or simply because they are young, right? They haven't been around for so long. They come more recently from source. Babies do, right? Babies they are quite new from source. And when you have been here a while, you have adapted to this jungle, right? And you have learned new tricks here to survive. And because of that, and now I suddenly think about the series called The 100, where these young people from a spacecraft that has been surfacing Earth for thousands of years because of some kind of disaster, where Earth was not, you couldn't live on Earth. So this spacecraft has been created to kind of keep the human species alive, and it has been surfacing or surrounding the Earth, like just in a loop around it, and keep some kind of track on when Earth could be prohibited again. When could we return? And they sent down the youngest people, actually. They send down the youngest, the teenagers, to see if they can survive in the atmosphere, in the air, and everything. And they get down there, and they must try to figure out how to live on Earth, right? So it's like they come from a spacecraft that they know, like they know everything there, and it's safe. It has survived there for, I believe, hundreds or thousands of years there. It has been all they knew. It was a protective shell. Everything in there worked, you know. And now they get into literally the jungle. They get into the jungle, and they have to learn everything all over again. There are threats there they didn't know about. So it's like, you know, coming from, we could say, the spacecraft, it's like coming recently from the source, a protective bubble. And then you get into Earth, and it's this jungle. You have to find your way in this jungle. And things happen here, and there are unforeseen threats and things, poisonous and everything here, that wasn't in the spaceship, or that wasn't there when you come from source. And therefore, when you come from source, you are trusting, you're open, you're open-minded, you're happy and joyous because you haven't felt any threat yet. That there has been anything challenging you, it has been good, right? And therefore you are open. But I think that somehow, I feel like the Scorpio I'm reading for, there's this feeling that, like looking back on it, like looking back on something, and like, but that was before I got to know the jungle, right? That was before something here. Before something came in and changed everything. And whatever came in and changed everything is the truth of something. And the truth changed your mind. The truth, or the experience here, shaped your perception into, maybe, I don't know, thinking that you were bad or a monster, or, you know, like you couldn't be loved, you couldn't be adored, you couldn't be someone. Not when you did that. When you did that, you cannot be someone who is loved or something. But this is coming to an end because you're realizing something here about what happened. Like this tsunami, the hell breaking loose that changed everything. You're realizing some kind of truth about it. And because of that, this depressive state, or this feeling of being bad or a monster or someone who can't be loved or something, this is going away. It's stopping here because of some kind of truth here. Because the truth is that originally you are this, but because something happened, it altered your mind. It altered your mind to think differently about yourself. To think differently about yourself. But it's not true. Or you could say it's an unavoidable dualistic part of yourself that isn't present when you are with Source. Right? But you have never been and never were all bad, you could say. It altered something, and maybe you have seen yourself as so-called bad, or with a tendency of being angry and aggressive and mocking and bullying and harsh and cold and things like that. Or simply feeling you were the worst person ever, like you were a monster. You got afraid of your own power. That could be the truth here, that you got afraid of your own power, the tsunami you could create, how destructive that was. You got afraid of your own power, and you've been trying to hide it ever since. It has given you depression and sleepless nights and worries and everything. You know, something like that. But this is it's coming to an end here, and this is a good thing, because there is some kind of truth that you're realizing here. It could simply be then in a dualistic world, in a dualistic third dimensional earthly experience, you cannot be only good. It's not possible. It's not possible. Eventually you will strike out. Eventually you will have some kind of reaction to something. Eventually life is not only safe and nice and good and lighthearted. Sometimes there are sorrows and griefs and losses and everything. That's the dualistic part of life. And maybe that's what you are on a deeper level really realizing here. Let's have a look at the crow here. So I get 6 of Michael. It's the light at the end of the tunnel. Breathe a sigh of relief and make new plans, relocation or travel. So this is the 6 of wands. 6 of swords. Six of Swords talks more about balance. It's about, I want to say, seeing, well, the end of the tunnel, that you have been in some kind of distress here. As I said, the 9 comes before the 10. So before coming to this truth of something where you say, okay, if this is the truth of the matter, if this is actually what happened, or if this is how life is, then I don't have to pretend anymore. I don't have to keep up a show or keep up a mask. I can just be me, right? I can just be me with everything I have. I know that I'm not a monster. I know that I'm not bad, for instance, right? I know that I even though I may have a temper, even though I did have an outburst, even though I did make that tsunami, I'm not a bad person, right? I'm not all bad, for instance, or something like that. And I also realize that those who proclaim that they are all good, it's just a mask, right? It's not true. 6 of Michael is like, we say with the tarot that 6 of Michael is like some kind of maybe conversation, some kind of truth or an epiphany or something makes you sit in the boat and sail for calmer waters. So it's leaving a tumultuous situation behind, maybe because it's not changeable. Maybe you can't change it. Like maybe the tumultuous waters is not even yours. But it's like changing it, wanting to find a safer place, leaving something behind, that has been really troublesome, right? It has really disturbed you. It's like you have been in a storm, and now it's like you're seeing potentially that the storm is lifting and you are getting out of it here. And the reason why you're getting out of it is because of some kind of truth here, some kind of realization, or something that you are now owning. Like maybe you take on the responsibility for some kind of situation. Maybe you realize, okay, I actually did that. I did that at some point. I did make that decision. I did say that about others, or I did cause this. I was maybe the one who caused this. Maybe I did that. Or you're realizing that you are part of a dynamic that eventually led you into I want to say, like a very distressful way of thinking here. It could be like a really, I don't know, like feeling that you were the reason for something. You're carrying some kind of guilt, perhaps, like a depression here. Not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy. No confidence or something, right? That and it was you were at fault. Like you were the reason for something. And I think that this great appreciation here this is actually a very important thing, because you realize that there is something else in you. I think it's a feeling like you can connect with something here that is very, very sweet and kind and light-hearted. And because of that, it's a relief, right? It's a relief that I cannot be this monster, right? I cannot be this bad person, and that is the feeling of getting out, right? That something or someone here appreciates me, and because of that, they see me, they look at me with a smile and says, would you want to come? Let's go fishing, right? Like I'm a friend, I'm your friend, right? And because of that, it's like it opens something up here. Like it reveals that there's more to you. That you're not just bad, for instance, or something. And you may have thought that for a long time. That you were the bad one, right? That you were the ugly one. That you were the ugly one, but it's not true. It's almost like something here sees beyond a handicap or something. Like it's seeing beyond that, seeing beyond someone's exterior, seeing beyond an exterior. I don't know if there's something about your appearance or something, Scorpio, but it's like either you can see beyond someone else's appearance, or someone here is seeing beyond yours. And they're not judging you. They're very sweet and very kind here. They're not judging you. And that feels like this opening, right? It feels like this, I want to go there, right? I rather go there when nobody is judging me, right? Or where I have this feeling of calm and safety and like there's an openness here. And it can actually be like a feeling in you, right? That you are remembering a feeling of non-judgment and what that feels like. Someone who just, like a child, like they love you no matter what. Like no matter what, they love you. When they stand like this, they love you. They love you just as you are. Flaws or whatever, they will be loyal and devoted to you, whatever. That's how they are. And maybe you remember that, right? You remember this feeling of that if someone could look at me like that, right? If they looked at me like that, and they really just want to go fishing with me, they just want to be with me. They don't care about what I look like, or if I'm fashionable or something. They don't care about that. They care about our connection. They care about they're very sweet here, right? Maybe you realize, maybe that's a realization also here, right? That all this power thing, all this status and power and money or whatever, it's not giving me calm waters. It's really not. The calm waters come when I'm not judged, right? When I'm not judged. And the sword energy can be very judgmental. Like it really can. So the 9 of Swords could be the feeling that you're constantly judged for something. Maybe you're judging yourself. You have a harsh inner critic or something. But remembering a time when you could be together with someone and there was none of that. There was none of that. It was just playing and having fun. No matter how your ear looks or your hair is, what color your hair is, or if you have some kind of disability or like a deformation. I still have this deformation thing. That it doesn't matter. Yeah, the Page of Earth here. Let's have a card on this one. So I get Ace of Raphael. It says a positive new emotional experience, fulfilling romantic relationships, and deep and lasting spiritual insights. And that makes sense, right? It's like the return or it's like standing in front of someone who reminds you of when you were young. Like when you were young and it was easy. Right? When we were trusting and easy and young. Maybe you meet someone here who is like this. Or they are vibing that towards you, like they vibe this energy towards you, right? And you just, again, you stand there and you're looking at it and it's like, yeah, but that was before I turned into a monster, or that was before I had to like change myself. That's before I had to fight the fight of my life, right? That's before I now think about there's another film called, what is that called? It's called it's a recent film with Tom Cruise. It's something about awakening some kind of old Egyptian queen. She has been, like, she was buried thousands of years ago, and some kind of adventurer is finding the grave. And the grave is surrounded with lots of mercury, to keep the spirit of this queen dimmed, the power of this queen dimmed, or you could say chained or tied up somehow. The ritual of burying this mummified but queen, it took a lot of ritual to dim her energy, because she is immortal, right? But to dim the energy down, so that it couldn't come up again. There was some kind of story to that. She wanted it, and that was also a power. That was a power dynamic with this one. What was it called? This film. But the point is that you awaken this immortal queen, and she gains power by sucking the life force out of other people. And because Tom Cruise, you could say a bit impulsively, actually makes her, helps her out of her tomb and creates, you could say, the access for her to regain life and power, she becomes loyal to him. She thinks that he is her long lost lover, and she wants to mate with him, unite with him. And also to steal his power, so eventually killing him, in order to get out of that mess. They are running. He and the female archaeologist is running. And he doesn't want to have anything to do with this old Egyptian goddess here. And to preserve the female archaeologist's life, he actually chooses to interact with the goddess, this Egyptian goddess, to manipulate her to believe that he will be there with her, merge with her. In that process, he is awakening certain inner energies in him as well. We see that he is merging with some of her energy, but in that process, he's changing. He's changing, so to help her, to preserve her, to keep her safe. He had to sacrifice a part of himself, a human part of himself. He is sacrificing in preserving her. And we see at the end of the movie, he has killed this Egyptian princess, or somehow done something with her soul, so she's no longer a threat. But he's staying in the shadow where nobody can seize him. And the female archaeologist is well again, and she talks to him, and he's very happy that he helped her. But he says that she must stay away from him, right? That he cannot come out. He cannot show himself, and he cannot come near her, because he is a threat to her. Like, he has changed so much that if he comes out, first of all, he would not look at the way he did before, but he would also now, he has changed in his heart, right? That something has changed in his heart. He's no longer trustworthy, I think. He knows that he could be something that would devour her. But that was not the original thing, right? The original thing was to save her. To save her, to keep her out of problems. And because of that, he got himself in problems. He changed. Like he took on certain experiences, and in that process, he changed. I feel it's kind of the same thing. Like, once I was sweet and innocent here, and something happened, and in that process I could not change. I could not become something else. And after that experience, I cannot go back to this. It's like I changed and became, you would say, somewhat of a monster, or at least there is this awareness, right? There's this awareness, because I did something, I cannot be mom's sweet little boy anymore, right? I cannot be mom's sweet little boy anymore, because I'm not. I know I'm not. There's something here that happened, or you could say, if we take a daughter who was a virgin, right? And now she had sex for the first time, and maybe it was like really hot and steamy and everything. She can no longer be the virgin, sweet little daughter anymore, right? Like, deep down, she knows that I can't be that anymore. I'm not like that. I'm not that anymore. I can't be that anymore. Not when this happened. Like, not because this happened, I cannot be that. I'm not like that anymore. And I think that something changed you, or circumstances for you, and what you became, you have had a really hard time with that. Like, this has been really tough for you to live this role, and to know this about yourself, to realize this about yourself. Maybe not talking about it, maybe not being open about it, maybe not even accepting it about yourself. But I think that there's something here. Something is opening something up, right? That like a new emotional experience. It could be that someone just shows up in your life and they look at you and say, "Hi, do you want to be my friend?" And because they are like this, they are so sweet here, and they look at you and they have no prejudice, they have nothing. That they just say this. It gives you this new feeling, right? It gives you this new hope, or this new feeling that you are not ugly, or you're not bad. Again, they look beyond it, like they look beyond like they saw something or say something to you that invites you with them in a very sweet, like sweet manner, right? And they do that because they don't have prejudice. They don't have that. Right? It could be like maybe someone has done this once in your life, and you remember, right, that once someone actually saw, like, they saw through the shell, right? Like they recognized my core, like someone recognized my core. Something I had forgotten about myself even. I couldn't even remember this. It could be that you meet some random child and they say something to you, and it's just like they see the core of you. They don't see everything else. As again, either this feeling you have yourself of you being this terrible person or a monster or bad in some way, or you have a disability or something, but this is like someone who they see through that. Like they see through that. Like when children play with each other, they don't care, right? Like about status and money and power and whatever. And there's something you're realizing here about this, I think. It could be that to have this more smooth sailing, maybe you need to forgive yourself for something. Maybe you need to realize something about yourself or something you did, and it was inevitable. It would at some point happen. And that it's all right. And maybe you need to forgive yourself here. And because you realize that, you stand here with some kind of truth. Because you do that, it gives you the ability to get out of some kind of depression or self-sabotage or something here. A mind fog up. Where you are, or a very harsh inner critic here that constantly is judging you for something. You can just feel it, hear it constantly. The only way you can get out of that storm here is maybe through forgiving someone or forgiving yourself. Accepting a side of yourself that you may really have not wanted people to see or know about you here. Some kind of secret or truth that comes to your awareness, and because of that it ends something. It ends, you can finally now step out of this depressive mode here. Because again, you come to the root of something, you realize something that is maybe like really earth-shattering for you, like really root earth-shattering for you. It changes everything. Yeah, okay, this became a rather long reading or channeling and everything, but I hope, again, well, I have several Scorpio subscribers, I know that, and I know some of the things that I say here. I think most of you like it to a certain point, even though I go into some of these more taboo things sometimes, but that's your area, Scorpio, right? That is you. You are in that That's actually your home street, right? That's your home alley. But I think you're realizing something here. And again, there's this thing of what has power over us. What are we loyal to? What have you been loyal to? Have you been loyal to some kind of judgment you got once? Maybe about your exterior, like your exterior looks or something. Have you been loyal to, because someone said something to you, if you took it and you got loyal to that, or you were loyal to certain people and they actually hurt you at some point. So who have you been devoted to or loyal? What have you been loyal or devoted to here? Maybe it's not true. Maybe it's only half the truth. Or, as I said, it isn't possible in this world to be only good and sweet all the time. And if you are only good and sweet, you can be taken advantage of. It can be destroyed. Or at least it could feel like that. In this world, you could say hell can break loose, or it's a jungle. It's an emotional jungle. Survival of the fittest, some would say also. And so the sweet one has to toughen up. As I said, from a Cancerian perspective into a Scorpio, you have to toughen up, right? It becomes a tough love. It becomes denser. It becomes deeper. It becomes more aggressive. Or there can be, like things around you that is threatening the core of something. Where you are more naked, more vulnerable, more raw and more innocent. And to protect that part of you, you may have to become something else. And then it's difficult to return to this. Right? It's like, and that could be what you're facing here. Maybe needing to forgive yourself for actually being human. And having feelings and not being perfect. Or realizing maybe there is a monster in me. Maybe I do have these tendencies. But that can also be a relief, actually, to admit it. Like to admit that I know that I have that kind of thing also in me here. And it actually comes with a certain element of power. I may be frightened of it. Actually, you may be terrified of it. But that you know it. Like that there is a fine line between me being kind and me being a monster, perhaps, right? If I get too close to the event horizon, as I've talked about before for Scorpio, if I come too close, I click, I snap. Right? And realizing that and actually knowing it and owning it is also a part of it. That you have to know this about yourself, right? That you are drawn to darkness, but when you get too close, you snap. Because then the core is threatened. Something like that. I hope this helped somehow. I don't know, but I hope it helped, or it could maybe just illuminate something, right? Perhaps, or help in a situation. Even also if you are a cross-watcher and you're dealing with a Scorpio. Maybe to understand the Scorpionic energy. because it's very different from a Cancerian energy and also from a Piscean energy. At least in my book, it's very different. So again, I hope this helped. Take very good care of yourself out there, everyone, and you, Scorpio, of course. Love and light to you. Bye bye.